I never shall forget my fascination the first time I saw wing needle hem stitching or entredeaux. I asked myself, how could the holes left by that big needle create such beautiful designs in the fabric? If you've been a bit unsure as to how to begin with wing needles, you will enjoy the wing needle techniques we have in store for you. Our show is full of tips and techniques for your home decor, a baby's wardrobe, and your machine embroidery. With so many things planned for our time together, I'd say it was time to begin. Welcome to my sewing room. This beautiful blue blouse of classic cotton has an incredible number of techniques on it, and all of them are very easy to do. Starting with the yoke, I bet it looks like we have Madeira applique on this piece. Not so. This is simply a stitch that looks like it has Madeira applique underneath, just stitched right on top of the blouse. The sleeves are completely beautiful with the organza cuff, and the stitching is decorative stitch on the sewing machine, and then this stitching is using a double wing needle, which we're going to share with you a little bit later how to do that. Coming on down to the bottom, there's a wonderful little ribbon in through the beading, and now I have a surprise for you as I turn this beautiful blouse over. Completely magnificent machine embroidery across the back yoke. Once again, I bet you thought there was more Madeira applique here. It is not. It is simply a beautiful stitch, which looks like you have a Madeira applique piece. And then, of course, the ribbon goes all the way around the blouse. Let's see how to make that beautiful organza cuff. You can use any decorative stitch on your sewing machine. This is not an embroidery machine. This is just decorative stitch on organza. Now, the needle that was used for the next step is called a double wing. It has one wing needle and one regular needle, and that's called a double wing needle. Okay, you put some stabilizer behind it for the wing needlework. Do a straight stitch down the piece, all the way down, then turn it around, let the wing needle fall right back in the same hole, and stitch backwards. Simply a straight stitch. Then after all of the stitching is finished, come and trim away the organza from both of the sides, and then you have a beautiful trim. I'm so pleased to have as my guest my dear friend Margaret Tully. Margaret is an education consultant with Baby Lock USA. Margaret, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you so much. I love being here.
Blouse is beautiful.
Oh, thank you. That would be a sweet summer blouse.
It is. It's beautiful. Thank you.
Well, let's talk about the wing needle, or the twin wing needle. It's a little bit of a misnomer because the twin wing needle sounds like there should be two wing needles on the same shank, when in reality it's not. We have one wing needle and one straight needle. Each one takes an individual thread, so we're actually sewing with 3 threads, the bobbin thread and a needle thread for the wing and a needle thread for the standard needle. This is just simply a straight stitch, and we let the presser foot, or the feed dog system, actually advance the fabric. We don't try to push or pull the fabric. Just let the feed dog system on your sewing machine advance the fabric, because when you get to the end of the first stitching line, you're going to turn around like Martha explained, and be sure that the wing needle shares the same hole with the previous row of stitching. So the wing needle shares the hole with the previous wing needle stitch, and you will just continue going on the other side, and this creates what we lovingly call this twin wing needlework. You'll be able to see in a minute, I did bring a sample of a mistake. I'm sure I didn't make the mistake, but I found it in my sewing room. At any rate, if you do try to push or pull the fabric and override the feed dog system, you'll see what a mess it will make with all of the holes, and they won't land in the same place. Now then, this is that same straight stitch, and it's a double step, yes. So we went down one side, came back up the other, and if you continue with this same technique, you can see that pretty soon you'll have a beautiful honeycomb. Now then, this is just a little sample to show you that we can use the other stitches in the sewing machine. This happens to be the blind hem stitch. And we just stitched in one direction, pivoted the fabric, and came back and made sure that the wing needle shared the jump stitch hole with the previous run of stitching. So you can see you can get a little bit creative here with your double wing needle. Now then, for the technique that's on the cuff of the blouse, we ran the character decorative stitch. I chose to use a color here, and that's on a single layer of sheer fabric. The second step involves bringing in a second layer of this sheer fabric. And through the second layer, the two layers, you're going to come with that same twin wing needlework and a straight stitch, or the stitch of your choice. Once the stitching is done on both sides of your character decorative stitching, then you'll come and we'll just trim away all of the excess fabric on the back, so it looks like that we have inserted a trim here when actually we just created it. Okay, and here is another sample of the straight stitch. I wanted you to be able to see that you can use this twin wing needle and make a curved or a shaped trim of your own. And here's the sample I was telling you about that I found that had the mistake. If you can look right in here, you'll see where I tried to help the machine along, and the wing needle did not fall and share the hole with the previous stitch, so it's not pretty at all. Not pretty at all. Okay, well, let's get over here to the sewing machine, and I'll just give you a little short example of what we're going to do. We've selected the straight stitch, and I've just left the default setting for the stitch length. You can lengthen it if you'd like to. And like I said, and Martha's told you so many times, let the feed dog system move the fabric. We're not pushing or pulling the fabric. And once you've gone as far as you want to with that first stitch, we'll simply pivot the fabric, reposition the fabric so that that wing needle shares the hole with the previous side. Do you see now that the wing needle is always to the left and the straight stitch is always, the straight needle is always to the right? That's the way it's in the sewing machine. Can you see?
Yes, it's beautiful.
And it just really is pretty. You'll like that. I just wanted to bring a couple of things here to show you that you can make your own entree with a wing needle and any color thread you choose. When you use the wing needle, you can make shaped entree or frames. Here are a couple of yokes that show the wing needle. This one shows the twin wing needle. And then here are some other applications. If you use the wing needle, you can use those holes to thread ribbons and trims through, and you get a delightful look with that wing needlework.
Margaret, I love wing needlework, and I think the critical thing is you let the machine do the work.
That's right. That is key.
Thank you, Margaret. And now Margaret has some beautiful sewing inspirations to share with you. Margaret, I love what you've done with the wing needlework on this very simple, elegant little bonnet. You have the wing needlework attaching the lace and just different ones going all the way across the bonnet. So sweet. And Margaret, tell us about this. You know I love it.
This is serger crochet. This is done with an overlock stitch, a 3-thread wide overlock stitch, and some decorative thread if you choose on the loopers.
The whole bonnet is done on the serger.
Absolutely.
Margaret, that bonnet never fails to fascinate me. Now, once again, with some more of the wing needlework, using your beading and the insertions and on a purchased towel. This makes a really quick and easy gift, I think.
And it needs a monogram, you think?
Oh my goodness, it does need a monogram. Since it's Margaret and Martha, we'll have to put an M on it.
Okay.
Margaret, this looks so sweet and simple. Tell us about your baby day gown, the trim up here.
Okay, I used just the wing needle, and that is a large size of entree stitch from the sewing machine. with the wing needle, and then that feather stitch, I just made it a little bit longer, and there are actually 2 threads in the same eye of the needle. They're 2 different shades of blue, and it gives it a little bit of a hand look, or
it certainly does give it a hand, but just a little bit heavier. Margaret, that is beautiful. Now the other beautiful little day gown. Let me bring this around. What did you do? It looks like you have drawn thread work in the middle,
That's
Margaret.
exactly what that is. We have drawn thread work, and then once you've drawn the threads out, I guess there was about a 1/4 inch space. Then with the wing needle and that pin stitch, I went down the left side of the drawn thread and then the right side, and that bundles those those loose threads.
I'm telling you, Margaret, you have so many pretty, pretty things, and I have a secret to tell our viewers. Margaret has a so quick, so easy project to share with you. Margaret, this pillow is my very favorite. What is it, a sleeve of some kind?
It is.
A sleeve of the month?
Yes, it could be.
And did you do all of this on the serger?
All of this.
And you
decorative
just
thread.
Tie the top and tie the back, and then you put a different one. That'd be good, because some of us have too many pillows, I think I heard you say.
That's right. This idea came as an honor to my husband, and perhaps you have a husband like mine who just doesn't understand why we have to have so many of those throw pillows. They're just so pretty.
Well, sewers like to make
That's
pillows.
right. And so we thought, came up with the idea to have one pillow and several sleeves, so you could redress your pillow with the season or the occasion.
And Valentine's Day, I love that one, Margaret.
And we all find this cutesy little fabric, this adorable fabric that we love, and we want some of it. And so this is a way to get to use some of our stash.
You mean the resource center.
The resource center, exactly. So the focal point on this one is for February. Then we have another pillow here. And the focal point for this one would be April, with some pretty little flowers and yet some more of our cute fabric that we have collected over time. We must have. And then all of this is constructed with a serger stitch and some decorative thread.
Margaret, I love it. I love it.
All right. We could also use some of this photo transfer fabric as the focal point. Now, I have something from the sewing machine, but it would be wonderful if this could be grandchildren or your children, pets.
Bobbin, my little dog Bobbin.
That's right, Bobbin. And then again, you would match up the colors in that photo print with some of the fabric that's in your stash. Now, here's one that we're going to work on this morning. I've already attached the side panels. It's pretty straightforward. Like I said, we're just going to have strips of fabric that will be the borders, top and bottom, side and side. And once you have all of these borders on, it's simply a matter of trimming your fabric to fit the top or the size and shape of your pillow. I'll just stitch a little bit for you. That'll just give you the idea.
And you know what? This would be so much fun to send as a gift of the month to grandchildren or to your mother, just as a little present, so they could open it up and have a new pillow too. And you could just kind of like a greeting card to say, I love you.
That's a great idea.
And now we have some machine embroidery techniques to share with you. I am so pleased to have as my guest today Pam Mahshie. Pam is Ambassador of Education for Baby Lock USA. Pam, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Martha. Today with your viewers and yourself, we're going to share some tips and tricks on how to make your embroidery that you've done for all these years even more beautiful.
I like it.
Yeah. So today we're going to look at this beautiful blouse that we have here. And as you can notice, it's a very thin fabric. And sometimes what happens is when we select an embroidery designs, we find just the right design that we want, but it might be a little bit too heavy for the type of fabric that we work with. And no matter what type of stabilizer we use or what type of undersewing we have on our design, it just doesn't lay right on the fabric. And we want that design to become one with the fabric, not stand out like a sore thumb or have a bulletproof embroidery, especially on lightweight fabrics. So let me share with you how we're going to do this. Let's come over to the computer, and as you can see, I've brought up a design. And many times what will happen is we find a design that we like, but we always want to add a little bit more to it. So when we do this, we actually take the design and we layer them together. And as we look at this rose design, we can see that right in the center, all of these roses are overlapping to create one design. Now when we look at our scale on the side, we can see that these bars are kind of like a Doppler radar. This is going to indicate to us the density that our design has. And as we look at the area that's in orange, we do have a fairly high concentration of stitches, and I bet you can just guess where those are. Right there in the very middle. Let's look at our density map, and this will show us even further how the intensity of stitches will become right in the middle, right on top. And of course, it will be hard for our needle to go through, and it will make a very rippled look on our design when it's stitched out. To reduce this, we're simply going to look again at our settings. On the density area for the project setting, we can actually select the type of fabric that we're going to be stitching on. So if we're stitching on a lightweight fabric that has a tight stitch or a high thread count, we're going to click on this. We can also then click on the weight of the thread that we're going to be working with. Typically we work with a 40 weight thread, or we could work with a 30 weight, which would again increase that density even farther. Now we want to remove some of the high concentration of stitches in this center area. Now to simply do this, we're going to click on Remove Hidden Stitches. And when I remove the hidden stitches, watch what happens. That high concentration and orange area that was in the middle on the rose pattern is now disappeared. It's removed those stitches. We can also take out any small unnecessary stitches by clicking on the small stitch filter and declumping. And with our DensityWorks, it's going to remove all of that heavy concentration of stitches. And as we see, our stitch originated at 40,343 stitches, and now we're down to 35,610. Again, making it, as we go to back to our blouse, we're going to see that working on the lightweight fabrics and using the lightweight fabric or using the lighter weight design will again make the design flow with the fabric. Once we have the design created, we then just simply take them and place it on either the jump drive so that we can place it into the machine, or use the direct connect and connect it directly to your sewing machine, your embroidery machine, and stitch it out. And that's all there is to it.
Pam, that is completely fascinating. Thank you so much for sharing this machine embroidery magic.
You're very welcome.
And now I have a section for you I'm going to call And So On. This little diaper cover is so sweet, and it has a wonderful place to do lots of heirloom embellishment or machine embroidery or hand embroidery embellishment. The little diaper cover has elastic at the top, and here we put two little white on white machine embroidered butterflies. I want to show you that it has a little lace at the bottom on the little elastic legs, and let me turn it over. So cute. This little panel in the back is lined, and that's what I'm going to show you how to put together is this little diaper cover. This is gathered lace, gathered lace, gathered lace, gathered, and simply zigzagged on. Okay, let's see how quick and easy it is to make this little diaper cover with the lined panel. Okay, decorate your panel in any way you want to. Now let me show you what I have here. I have the body of the diaper cover here, one part of the panel here, one part of the panel here, the lining and the outside part. Okay, put it together like a sandwich, and then we're going to stitch the seam allowance along the crotch of the diaper cover. Now watch me carefully. This is a little bit tricky, but you can do it. All right, I'm going to pick up, you see the notch here? I'm going to pick up the notch on part of the lining, and I'm going to scrunch in the side. Now just kind of wad it in there, you can do it. And then I'm going to match up the notch. Now I'm not through yet. We've got one more notch to go to. The back of the lining of the panel, I'm going to line up all three of these, and I'm going to pin it all the way across. So you pin it all the way across. Now let's do the same thing on the other side. I'm going to scrunch in the body of the diaper cover, the unlined part. I'm going to line up the notches and then line them up on the side. Now quickly, let me show you what we're going to do. It looks like this when all of it is pinned. I'm going to sew up one side, sew up the other side. My finished piece looks like this, and now what I'm going to do is to go in, turn it right side out. Just kind of have to pull all of this out. There we go. It's finished except for I'm going to come back and add a casing at the top, and then on the bottom I'm going to add a casing, just butt up lace edging and put the elastic in, and you have finished. And now I have a wonderful technique to share with you. Frequently I get asked, Martha, I have white lace and I want ecru. Not to worry. I've already started dyeing some pieces over here. You just take your white fabrics or trims. I have some lace that's getting to be a pretty color of ecru. Put it in a bowl of coffee and add white vinegar. We usually say 2 tablespoons of vinegar to 1 cup of coffee. Okay, I'm going to let this dye a little bit here. You don't have to just use cotton and natural fibers. Polyester and acetate work well. Just be careful about your colors. All right, here we have the white French cotton lace dyed to ecru, the Victorian trims dyed to ecru, a wider collar piece, again Victorian trims, 100% cotton, very easily dyed to ecru, and then the wonderful little ready-made doilies, white dyed to ecru. Okay, let's go back over here and see what we have. Oh, that's looking pretty. We have some lace. Now I'm going to go to the sink and rinse it, and if it isn't quite dark enough, guess what I'm going to do? Back in the coffee vinegar it goes. Be sure when you get it out, after rinsing it thoroughly, that you lay it flat, dry, then you're ready to press it, and you have a beautiful ecru lace. Now won't you join me while I share a piece from my vintage collection with you? This beautiful dress is a very early dress, and it belongs to my friend Wendy Shane. She purchased this dress on Portobello Road in London. The dress dates to about 1810, and it has just the little tucks and a few little buttons here, and a side panel with a few tucks, but it's completely plain. The skirt is very long and completely plain. The 1810 era was before the flowering of the dresses, which they began to put very elaborate work on christening dresses in the mid-1800s. I want to tell you too, this long dress, I want to tell you a story that Noreen Marshall from the Victoria and Albert Museum told me. I said, Noreen, why were those dresses so extremely long in the early 1800s? And she said, Martha, in the baptism ceremony, the priest or the pastor would pray for the baby to live to be as long as the dress. I thought you'd like that story. I thought it was fascinating. Let me turn the dress around just to look at the top, and you can see once again the casings with the little strings, the little cords that tied so you could pull up the dress to fit a child from generation to generation, and even you could fit the baby as it grew older. These dresses were used for christenings, but they were also worn as baby dresses. They weren't just christening dresses. Thank you so much for coming to be with me in my sewing room today. I hope you've had a wonderful time. I have, and I would like to invite you to come back next time.